Good night, everyone. Welcome to another English class. Welcome to another English class. Welcome to Teacher Lawrence English class. English for everyone. So whether you are a student, just a person who wants to know more about English language, you are not a native speaker, and you just want to know more about English language, this class is for you. English for everyone. And so this evening, we're on again. And remember, on Monday, we look at grammar. Those of us who are joining this platform, might I remind you that grammar is just one part of English language. English language can be divided into 4 sections. Grammar, and grammar has to do with the 8 parts of speech, the definite article, and the indefinite articles. That means the definite article, indefinite article a and an, plus punctuation marks, plus capitalization or capital letters. So that's what grammar is all about. The 8 parts of speech, definite and indefinite articles, the punctuation marks, and capitalization, grammar. When you hear about spelling rules, some of the things you have to memorize them. We have spelling rules, and you have syllabication, all sorts of spelling. That's a part of English language. Many English language words the root words come from like Latin, Greek, or those things. We learn some of those along the way. Then you have vocabulary. The wider your vocabulary is, the better you are able to write. You can draw on these words. So vocabulary include synonyms, antonyms, that's opposite, homophone, homograph, prefixes, suffixes, prefixes, suffixes, context clue, all of those has to do with vocabulary. So while we're learning English language, make sure you improve your vocabulary. Use some bigger words. Instead of saying everything is nice, everything is good, find some better word. Food, nice, no, delicious, appetizing, find some better words for vocabulary. Then you have reading comprehension, which is wide, and that will test your critical thinking skills, your inferential thinking skill, your inferential skills, and all the skills. Then, of course, you have creative writing, which is expressing yourself. And remember, I say that you don't have to be no great writers to write. There are some simple things that we can do to improve our writing, and that is what this class is about. When you write for yourself, it gives you a good feeling. When you sit down, think up, can imagine something, and write it on a paper, the next morning you look at it, it makes you feel proud. Stop copying somebody's writing. You know, that's not yours, that's not your ideas, those are not your expressions. Get your own writing. It helps you, it elevates you, it helps you writing. When you do English language, when you write, it develops your confidence skills, it helps you to express yourself better, and it helps you, sad or lonely, whatever you are. You can write a poem, you can write a story, you can write a letter, something to make you feel better. So this writing is quite therapeutic. It helps you. So if you just want to be a freelance writer, just write, this is the right class for you. But as we go into writing, there are some rules, there are some structures that we have to follow. Some structures that we have to follow. Writing is not just putting words on paper. They have to follow a particular pattern, a particular structure. Now, we have looked at nouns and all sorts of nouns. We have been looking now at verbs. And we're talking about three types of verbs. You have action verbs, linking verbs, and helping verbs. We are still on action verbs. Now we move on to tense. Tense telling you when the action is done. Is it done? Is the action done in the past? The action doing now? Or it refers to something present? Or it's done in the future? We are still on the past tense. Let us revise a little about present tense. Present tense has to do with an action that is referred to as being done in the present. Mary washes the dish. So we are talking about not necessarily that Mary washed the dish now or she's washing it now. But we are saying Mary washes the dish. That's her duty maybe. Washes the dishes. Milton plays the game. One Milton. So we say present tense mostly refers to when we are writing factual information, we use present tense. When we are writing habitual action, things that are permanent situation, we use present tense. When the person is actually doing the thing currently or presently, we use present continuous. She's tidying up the room, or she's tidying the room. She is bathing her puppy, doing it now. So most time when we are doing present tense, the action is being done now. We use the present continuous. Now we said the last time for present tense, if it's one person doing the action. Tim runs the race. If it's present tense and it is one person, the S is on the verb. If it is present tense and it is more than one person, no S is on the verb. If it is I or you, no S is on the verb. So that's for present tense. So when you want to write about your country, you want to write anything factual about plants, about rivers, seas, or mountains, or planets, you can use the present tense. The mountain rises above the sea. It's so and so. So you put on the S when it is one. If there is more than one, no S. So that's for present tense. Last week we were looking at past tense. It is past and gone. Yesterday, last week, last night, some time ago, once upon a time, during summer. As long as it is past and gone, we refer to it as the past tense. Now let's go on the board. Past tense and narrative writing. Past tense tells us about something that already happened. It's done already. We use past tense to tell a story, and we're looking at narrative writing because narrative writing basically it's just relating a story. We will go further into like short stories and all of that. It's simple stories. Something happened at work and you relate it. That's called a narrative. Something happened at school, you relate it. That's a narrative. Something happened on the playground. That's a narrative. Something happened in your office and you relate it. It's a story. It's in a story form. We call all of them. So narrative is the big name for everything. But then under narrative, you can have personal narrative. You can have narratives about other people. You can have fictitious narrative. And you can have short stories. You can have tales. You can have fables. You can have all sorts of things. But the word that encapsulates, cover everything, it's narrative. So people use narrative for everything. It's just like we buy the newspaper. Some of them are not really called newspaper, but we say newspaper for everything. So it's the same way when you hear narrative, it means that it's some form of relating an event, but not necessarily it is a narrative. They are more specific, having their own names. All right, so describe something that happened already. So tense tells you about the future, Past, present, and future. We are looking at the past tense, tells us about something that already happened. We use past tense to tell a story to describe something happened already and write about events in the past. Alright? Now, how past tense are formed. We looked at that last week. How past tense are formed. Alright? How past tense are formed. 1. Add ed. So you have the word walk, past tense, walked. Wash, past tense, washed. Dog bark, dog barks, or the dog barks, barked today, barks today, but barked. Ed. So whenever you see a word and this ed at the end like that, it means the action word, it was done in the past. But it's not only that way we formed past tense. Sometimes when you add the ed, if it's a short vowel word, like hop, H-O-P, that's a short vowel word. When there's a short vowel word like hop, why do you call it in just? Or sorry about that. So let us look at rule 4. Coming. All right. Rule 4, and that is irregular. Irregular past tense. Irregular past tense. Irregular past tense. Verbs. Remember, we are looking at action verbs. Irregular. Now, irregular means that they do not follow any set pattern. No set pattern. For example, run, past tense is ran. Come, past tense is came. Eat, past tense is ate. Begin, past tense is began. Give, past tense is gave. Past tense is gave. See, saw. Now, under this same list, irregular, there are some words that we said last week, don't know if you remember them, that these words are never in present or past tense, they remain constant. Like put, same put, all the time. You put it in the box last night, you will put it in next week. I put it now. So put is one of those words that you do not add anything to. Cut is another one, and some others. Cut, put, hurt. Hurt is another one. So there are some words that remain in the past tense all the time, present tense, no matter which tense, they are still in that one. So let's go it again slowly. There are some rules as to how past tense are formed. Rule one, add ed. Just straight like that. Wash, cook, look, those words, just add the ed to them for the past tense. In some cases, you have to double the letter. Like the words like hop, stop, plan, those words have short vowels. Short vowels. So beg, B-E-G, begged. Right? Short pin, P-I-N, pinned, short vowel. All these are short vowel words. Hop, skip is another one. You have to add ed. So these short vowel words, if you're going to add on ed on them and use them in the past tense, make sure you double the last letter. Then you have some words, some past tense verbs that ends with y. Whenever a word ends with y, an action verb ends with y. Before you add the ed, change the y to I. That means you leave out the y and replace the y with I. Then you add ed. Then we have some now that we call irregular, that don't follow any set pattern. They are irregular. Come, came, see, saw, leave, left, all these words, they are irregular, no set pattern. Next week, I'll be looking at some other past participle going on with this. I'll be extending the same past tense for next week. I'm sure you have heard about past participle when we use them. So we're going to do some of that next week. So these irregular verbs, and also you have another set that you never ever add anything to them in the past tense. They are the same in the past, in the present, and in the future. Look them up. Make a list of them in your book so that you can always remember them. Hurt today, hurt tomorrow, hurt last week. So that is for how past tense are formed. Now, last week we started looking at, remember I said past tense are used to tell stories. And probably about 90% or 90%, 80 to 90% of the stories that we tell, they are done in the past tense. You have a past tense. You can write a story in the present tense, but it is a little awkward. But majority of the stories that we write, they are done in the past tense because the incident already happened. So tonight we're going to look at how we can write some simple paragraphs in the past tense. And using. All right. So last week I said that we can look at the first sentence, the previous sentence. And by looking at the previous sentence, we can pick a word or a phrase out of that sentence. We can pick something out of that sentence. For example, a visit to the zoo. Let us look at it. Yesterday, I went to the zoo. Now, That's a sentence about the zoo. I can pick out one word to start the next sentence. So I wanted to make it easier for you to write your paragraphs. Yesterday I went to the zoo. Just the bare bone of the paragraph. We're not doing any whole heap of descriptive. We're just getting the paragraph right. At the zoo, I saw many animals. So I pick out another word. So I pick at the zoo. You notice I pick out at the zoo. I pick out this word zoo. Then this one now, the animals were in cages. And you could pick another word, the animals were in cages. You could say something about the cages were beautiful, or some of the cages were small and some were large. What else can you add to that sentence to make some of the cages were small, some were large? You could say trees were hanging over the cages to protect them from the sun or to give shade. I sat under, I sat, if you want to put yourself in it, or some of the parrots were outside of their cages. And so you can build on these paragraphs by just taking one word from the previous sentence. So that is how we can build a paragraph. Taking one word from the previous sentence, you add and show the connection, or show the connection. Another way, which I like, to build a paragraph in the past tense is to use action words. Use action, more than one, you can use more than one to use an action word in a sentence. All right, look at this one, listen to this one. Let me think of one. Grandma Mary likes to knit. Knit her clothes. So I have an action word, knit her clothes. Every day, let me put it in the past tense. Last week, Grandma Mary knitted a sweater. She wrapped the sweater in a colorful paper. She gave it to her, or she wrapped the sweater in a colorful wrapping paper. She gave it to her granddaughter. Her granddaughter received it happily and wore it to school the next day. So you try to get, even if you don't get everything, you get an action word in all of the sentence. So every time the children walked in the forest, they picked some berries along the way. They ate the berries. We're not using the transition yet because I'm going to come and tell you that. They ate the berries. They laughed all the way, or they laughed and talked all the way on their way. They laugh and talk on their way. Let's go that again. Mary and Malia walked in the forest. Mary and Malia walked in the forest. Walked. So you have the verb walked. Along the way, they picked some berries. They ate the berries They laughed and talked all the way or during the time in the forest. Then it was getting late, they hurried home. So the aim is each sentence you make, you put an action verb in it. Each sentence. Now you notice that I was stopping a little because it was just not flowing. So for it to be flowing smoothly, I would have to interject some transition words like first, next, afterwards. Because when these words are not there, it doesn't flow properly. So I am going to introduce now some words that we call transition words. When you're writing a narrative paragraph, you can use a word from the previous sentence, or you can use action verb in each sentence. Now, I was struggling because I wasn't using any transitional word, so you'll find that it wasn't smooth. But now I'm going to introduce now what we call transition words, which will allow our sentence to be smoother and the paragraph to become more realistic. All right, so I'm going to introduce transition words. And we're going to look at time transition words. We're going to look at transition words. And these are words that help to link our sentences in a paragraph so that they can run smoothly and so that you can know exactly what is happening at what time. All right. All right. These are words transitional or transitional, transition, or it can be transitional, words, link, sentence, or ideas in a paragraph. Now, when you're writing a paragraph in the past tense, these are some transitional words that you can use at the beginning of the paragraph. Once upon a time, this is one that many children like to use. Once upon a time, once upon a time, last night, last night, last week, yesterday. So these are the ones that you can start your paragraph with. So last week, so you're putting them, these are called transitional words, but they're called time transitional words or chronological order. Time transitional words. Time transitional word. Because they give you time, then have these now. These can go down in further down. First, next, after transitional words or transitional phrase. So they don't have to be just words, they can be transitional words or transitional phrases. Transitional words or transitional. Next, afterwards, later or sometime later. Next, then you can put in some word like suddenly, immediately, and these can go into the middle of your paragraph. You can have words like, then for the ending part now, you can write in the end, finally, at last. So these are called transitional words, and we can use them in our paragraph to make them come alive, to make the flow of the sentence better, so others can read it. Right? So we can use them in the beginning, in the middle, and at the end. I am looking for a paragraph in this book that we use transitional words to find. All right. I want to read something. I'm trying to find some transitional words. All right. All right, some transitional words from this book. Once upon a time, last week, one day, it started. Order in transitional word: first, next, then. Finally, at last, since, then, not long after. Now listen to this paragraph. Last week, I took a walk in Emancipation Park with my friend Shauna. First, we strolled through the park and admired the beautiful flowers. Then